Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. To make a long story short, my people, um, I'm going to tell you young guys that some of you will find someone. And I want you young guys to make sure of something. A few things, actually. If you have grown up in the West, you want to make sure that you are ready to actually um, learn better customs. If you find a woman that treats you well, then you want to try to learn better customs. You're going to go through a cultural filtration because, for one, if you're going to be treated well, she's not following Western culture. We need to get that straight. If you're being treated well, she's going to follow something else. And that's because it's going to have a different name if she's treating you well anyway. If she is treating you well and she's coming from another culture, a custom, you're going to have to look at some of those traditions that are just more moral and you should go by those traditions. Around the world, a lot of people become addicted to electronic devices, um, cell phones and laptops, especially cell phones. I'm going to tell you this. A lot of you young guys, even, are going to have to learn that though you're not nearly as addicted as the average westernisha is, you may still be too addicted for some women that come from more traditional environments and other places. If cell phones are a tool, then that's fine. But if cell phones take enough of your attention away from a spouse, the same with any devices, then you're going to have to make a conscious effort to get away from those things. You'll know if it's you or not. But there do exist certain habits that we Western men have picked up, and we've had to pick them up, and we haven't had a choice. And if you do marry a woman that is not a Westernisha or a wannabe Westernisha or a westernized woman, you in some ways are going to already be very agreeable to her. In some ways, and in other ways, you will not. But you will have to look at what habits it is that you have picked up from the West that will not serve you and will not serve your marriage. I'm talking in the context of marriage. Some of you may apply this to other relationships, but I'm applying this to, I'm talking in the context of a marriage according to a tradition in which you and she both believe. You'll have to do some internal work. And I know this is the case because I've had to do it. You will have to stop and take a look at some things that you may have learned that simply don't apply anymore. One of the ways that Westernishas are hoping and projecting and actually praying without admitting that they can corrupt other women is through the Western men they damage. They seek that out. They want that. They want to do certain things to damage men. And then they hope that these men will go abroad and that they will do things that will then damage traditional women that never did any harm. In other words, they will cut certain men they don't really want like that, and they hope those men will go and bleed on other women that aren't like them, meaning that aren't like the women that cut you or that aren't like you. They seek this. You will, as men, you will have to make a conscious effort to temper things you have learned to do growing up in the West once you are, in fact, married to someone that's not a part of the problem. You maintain your friendships as long as those friends will allow it, but you also will not be able to spend all your time playing video games with them. You will have to put a lot of things in balance that did not have to be balanced before, because the balance wasn't a balance in the West, if you especially if you were with a Western nation. You will then have to look at certain things like, for instance, and many of you are going to go ahead and stay in the States now because of the fact that these ladies cannot turn around and use the immigration laws against you as easily as they did before. And so, since you will be in your home environment, but you will not be marrying from someone from that home environment, you will have to look sometimes at on your own and try to find information about things. And you may have to ask some other people as well as your wives about the cultures and the customs. And you'll have to say things like, well, do you all tend to, let's say, for instance, do you eat together? Is it rude to eat by yourself if you have an option, if you have a choice? You'll have to find, you may have to look and see these things. So, to give an example, if you marry someone from Ethiopia, sometimes friends feed each other. And a married woman, it's funny because they're so innocent in certain ways that a married woman could turn around and you are her husband's friend, and she turns around while y'all eating out the same plate, and she just stuffs some. Now, mind you, it is polite to do that with a clean hand, but they wash their hands like anyone else does. So they're not being unsanitary, but that is one of their customs. They'll do that and they mean no harm. That is like patting you on the back. It's like cracking a joke while you're eating. You see, that's what it's like for them. And if that, which is more innocent, is something you don't have in your culture, that is fine, but you're going to have to understand that between you and your wife, you want to take that because that's what is more innocent than what you have. You will have to go through a moral filtering when it comes down to culture, customs, and expectations. Which one is morally superior and more innocent? That's what you'll have to do. I've had to do it. You will have to be, on one hand, watchful, mindful, because you're human and she's human. On the other hand, you will have to be watchful and mindful of yourself to make sure that you're not reacting to something that's not the case. You see, sometimes, gentlemen, you may be in a situation in which you might be in a scenario in which, let's say, for a while, you don't consummate the marriage. No argument, no tension, nothing like that. You don't consummate. Then you start to wonder if she's actively trying to avoid. If she doesn't come from a culture where you do that to your husband, and she ain't been around them westerneshas, then don't assume she's all of a sudden doing that to you. because you don't want to confront her about something like this and start an argument if that's not actually what she is doing. This is just one example. When it comes down to other things too, it's going to be the same thing. You don't want to assume that a woman who comes from a culture where a particular game is not played is playing a game. But you also do want to see where you can find out about certain games that they may play in that particular culture. See, if I did get married in this society, I would know certain things like the fact that a woman's looking for a man that doesn't have sisters. I don't have any. I would know that she is probably looking for a man whose family is not nearby so that I don't get calls to take my time and attention away from her because of family issues. I would know if she's young that she's going to try to conceive as soon as we start bumping uglies. Ain't no years to get to know each other to get none of that. No, no, skeet squirt now. I would know that that's how they're gonna do. No, pummel my pussy now. I would know that. So I want to tell you guys that there are certain games that are played in different societies, but you don't want to assume that she's playing the same game that's played in yours without it being a part of hers and the repertoire. Because you may confront her about something that never even crossed her mind and she is shocked. Diplomacy with women that come from cultures where they don't disrespect, take you for granted, play games is fine. Even if you don't believe that they can actually love you like you can love them. If they can respect you and they show and demonstrate this, diplomacy is good. You see, you should look for women anyway who come from context in which you can afford to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because you already know from the westerneshas that in that context you can only doubt the benefit. Most of you are looking to avoid the westernesha because you want to be a nice guy, you want to be fair, you want to be well mannered, diplomatic. You want to use firmness for what it's there for, to have boundaries, not to try to always pound tables and roar and thump your chest to show your alpha because you have to control some wild beast. You're not trying to do that. And so, because of that, I want to tell you that you must actually be ready to be attentive, fair, diplomatic, balanced in a bunch of things, and considering plans, options A, B, and C, plans A, B, and C. A lot of things you'll have to be really mindful because you are, in fact, navigating a culture, and you're navigating one that didn't break you or break her, ideally speaking. But you will have to realize that if you have dealt with too many of these westerneshas before, on one hand you got experience, but on the other hand that experience can cause you to be too guarded when you don't need to be. And to stay guarded when you can afford to lower the guard a bit in stages, which is ideally the best way to do it. Because in all honesty, even in cultures that are generally innocent, when a man just comes in guard all dropped, there are women that will look and say, oh, okay, he's naive. But when he drops the guard in stages, that's reasonable. And that's respectable. And you come, and I come from a culture that teaches us that around women, you don't drop your guard at all until you're ready to be decimated. If the environment has turned you into a man that only knows how to be combative in relationships, don't go this route. if it has taught you to where you only know how to be distant and detached, don't go this route. I hope that what I've said helps out. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.